happened that under that tent unless they don't want to see it and they don't want to know, because you have to, there is a cause and effect. What made Karmelo Anthony jump out of that tent? We saw multiple bodies pushed from the front to the back and to the side. And like I said, I'm going to say it again. Wouldn't it be ironic that Hunter Metcalf and Austin Metcalf had sandwiched Karmelo Anthony between themselves? All like America, keep pushing, keep pushing. If the mainstream media, and we already know they have stopped talking about this particular case here, we can continue to push until Karmelo Anthony is out of that jail on appeal, and we're going to continue to push until he is exonerated and all the truth comes out. Now listen, I know a lot of us is talking about a mistrial and the dismissal, but I've been thinking about it and I've been seeing your comments. You know what? Karmelo Anthony is going to be okay. He's going to be out on appeal, and I want a retrial. What Tony Talks vested up, why do you want a retrial? I want a retrial because with a retrial, we get to see exactly what Judge Roach did, the prosecutor Greg Willis did, and the Texas AG Kenneth Paxton did when he suppressed the real video in this case. Hey, Texas AG Ken Paxton, there is something called the Brady rule. I'm sorry, the Brady disclosure, not Tom Brady. It's actually something that the U.S. Supreme Court came down with. It's called the Brady disclosure, where you must, prosecutor Greg Willis, you must turn over everything to a jury to either convict or found someone innocent. Oh, Greg Willis. Oh, Greg Willis. So thank you to all of the haters and the racists for getting us activated. Let's keep pushing. I said I'm not going to keep you long. Now let's go over here. Now, this is where I want to get to when I say I'm going to be doing the layman's forensic CSI analysis and review that Collin County didn't do, or if they did, they could, how can I say, they was restricted.
Austin was stuck at an awkward angle, but they wouldn't let them go into details because they didn't want them to know that the angle that he was stuck in was an angle, and this is what the professionals said. The expert that came out, they said that Karmelo, was basically defended himself. This is what the professional said, the expert witness said, as far as the angle of what he was stuck at, y'all. This other person is saying something else. Listen.
Let me tell you off the record what I have been told by a very reliable source. What I've been told is that Karmelo did communicate to his defense team that when he stabbed Austin Metcalf, Austin had him in a headlock. And that's why that could explain the angle of the wound, because he was in a headlock.
Okay, y'all. Y'all see the more and more information that's coming out? It's looking more and more like Karmelo was fighting for his life, basically.
Ooh.
These little demons, they
fighting for his life.
Talking about
Karmelo Anthony was fighting for his life. Oh, we're about to get into this, and I'm about to let you go. Karmelo Anthony was fighting for his life. Hold on. Karmelo Anthony was fighting for his life. Now listen, it seems like they don't want us to defend ourselves. And it seems like, and the timing is perfect, but it seems like that it's okay for them to teach their kids to defend themselves. Hold on. You don't got to believe me. Hold on before I go into my information. Now, this father is not speaking on this particular case right here, but he is describing a case with his 5-year-old son. 5-year-old son. Now listen to what they're telling their community regarding bullying. So I guess it only applies to their community. And I just want to give this disclaimer. This dad is not speaking on this case. He's just, how can I say it? He is sharing the experience and the conversation that he had with his child in school at the age of 5 about somebody bullying him. Hold on. So they can do it, but we can't. Hold on.
A 5-year-old is suspended from school for fighting. And evidently, I didn't react to the situation the way that the school administration thought I was going to. I get a phone call, I'm at work. Principal says, hey, your son got in a fight at school today. All right, is he okay? And he's fine. We're going to need you to come in and talk about it. You want me to come in before school tomorrow or after school today, or how you want to handle this? And he said, well, no, you got to come right now because your son's not going to be able to stay in school today. I said, well, you just told me he was fine. No, he is fine, sir, but he's going to have to be removed from school today. So not fully understanding what the problem is, I leave work and I go to the school to have our little sit-down powwow. And you got the principal, you got the assistant principal, you got a counselor, you got a school nurse, and you got my son, and you got this other kid. Okay? And I look at my son, I say, you all right, son? He said, yes, sir. I said, all right. The principal, kind of steps in between and then starts talking. I said, no, sir, hold on. I said, son, what happened here today? And my son proceeds to tell me the story. He said, this kid right here was picking on me at recess. And he wouldn't stop. And I said, son, did you ask him to stop picking on you? He said, yes, sir. I said, how many times did you ask him to stop picking on you? He said, one time, sir. Did he hear you ask? He said, yes, sir, he did. I turned to the principal and I says, hey, so what's the problem here? The principal goes on to tell me, look, we cannot promote this kind of behavior in the schools. And I said, I agree completely. Bullies should be reprimanded for their actions. I have absolutely no discord with that. I agree 100%. Kind of puzzled, the principal looks at me, he says, no, well, yeah, you can't have bullying, but we can't have fighting in school. The kid was bullying my son. My son asked the child to stop. The child did not, and he felt the repercussions of his actions. I don't see the problem here. He said, we have a zero tolerance for fighting. I said, this wasn't a fight. Clearly, my son beat the crap out of this kid. This bully. He said, your son's going to be suspended for 3 days. I said, is that so? He said, yes, sir. We can't have fighting in the school, no matter what. He should have told the teacher. Well, what was the kid doing to bully him? He said, well, we don't exactly know. And I said, so how do you know that he was able to tell teacher? What if the kid was in his way? What if the kid was pushing him? What if the kid had hands on my son? I said, if you don't know the situation, how are you going to reprimand my son when you don't know what happened? Zero tolerance policy, sir. He got a 3-day suspension. I said, that's fine. Not a problem at all. I turned to my son. I looked at the kid that he beat up. And the kid that he beat up, I said, son, I'll tell you one thing. You'll think twice before you bully my son again. I turned to my son. I gave him knuckles right there in the principal's office in front of everybody. I said, son, I'm proud of you. I said, you are suspended from school for 3 days. I said, you got a 3-day vacation. It's hunting season. Let's get out of here.
Did you hear how this man, like I said, he was not commenting on the Karmelo Anthony Austin Madcap story. He was just, and that came out a day ago, about how he got called to the school because his son had defended himself against a bully. And did you hear the question that he said when he asked his son? He said, well, did you tell him not to touch you? He said, yes, sir. And basically that was it. Do you see how they see regarding bullying in their community? But we bet not never stand up to bullying in our community. He even said, well, what's the issue? He's talking to the principal. He said, well, there's a zero tolerance policy and he should have told the teacher. So the dad said, well, how do you know that he could have told the teacher? He said, what if he was surrounded? Karmelo Anthony. He said, what if he couldn't get away? Karmelo Anthony. He said, well, do you know if the bully pushed my son? Karmelo Anthony. He said his son basically had the right to defend himself from a bully. Now, like I said, he wasn't speaking on this case, but the timing was perfect. And his son was 5 years old. They're teaching, and I think every family, black, white, whatever the color is, you have a right to tell your kids, don't let nobody put their hands on you. And once you give that warning, now that dad said, well, did you tell the kid to leave you alone? And he said, yes, sir. That's the same thing that Karmelo Anthony said to Austin Metcalf. Don't put your hands on me. Woo, I can still hear his voice and his cry in my head. So I can only imagine, woo, Karmelo Anthony's cries in that courtroom. Y'all, I was speaking to a friend, and I'm starting to get chills right now. I was speaking to a friend's last week this time when we were discussing the video and the police video. When you heard Karmelo Anthony cry, it was like something spiritual in there. It was like a woe from a spiritual realm. When I heard this cry, I said, that's not the normal cry of a young boy. It was like a cry. It was like a cry from his spirit and his soul when he said, I told him not to put his hands on me. He said, I told him not to put his hands on me. But when Karmelo Anthony said, I told him not to put his hands on me, they saw that as provocation. But this dad said, my son warned him not to put his hands on him. So why can't our sons and our daughters give people warning and say, don't put your hands on me. Don't put your hand on us, especially when we're not even doing nothing. Don't put your hand on us. But you see, and I'm going to commend that father. He's teaching his son that before the age of 5. Warn them. Tell them don't put their hands on you. And if that bully put his hands on you, take care of it. And I stand with that father. He said, when the principal said, well, he's suspended for 3 days. Did you hear what the father said? The father said, he got a 3-day vacation. Come on, son, let's go hunting. Teach your kids. Don't never let nobody put their hands on them. I don't care if they're scared and timid after this case. Tell them, don't be afraid. Don't let nobody put your hands on. Let's keep going. Now, this right here, I've showed you in the arrest record and only got 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes, I'm going to let you go. Karmelo Anthony was 130 pounds. Austin Metcalf was 220 to 230 pounds. The reason why I know that because his mother said that last year outside of the house with Hunter in the yard, that it was her 220 plus baby. So that means that Karmelo Anthony had Austin Metcalf 220 pounds and Hunter's 220 pounds. That's 440 pounds standing up against this young man and not counting the weight of the 2 other friends. Well, Tony Talks vested up. I forgot what her name is. Megan Callie said it was just a track student having an issue with another track student. No, it wasn't. Based off the weight category of, what's his name? Austin. He was 220 pounds. When have you ever seen a 220-pound sprinter? When have you seen somebody run the 2x4 or the 1x100 or the 200 or the 800 or the relays 220 pounds? At best, Austin, he probably did shot put. He probably just did chop put. But he definitely was not a runner, and he was expelled the week before. But let's keep going. Now, I just want to set the stage. Here we go. Now, regarding this right here. So do y'all see how wide this is? Now, I brought this up here. Now, let me show you where I got this information from. Because, hey, there is some information available to the public. Hold on. I shouldn't have never closed it. One second. Come on, Scream Yard. I'm finna show you exactly where I pulled these pictures from, and you already may know it, but I didn't. So hold on. I'm gonna try to go ahead and go to this website, because y'all, guess what? The following pictures that I'm gonna show you actually came from the website. And you may already have them by now. You may have already had them, but if not, here is the records. I have not had time to go over the audio or the video, but these are the pictures. Hold on. And I'm going to share my screen. And to the chats, I don't want to get, I want to stay right here on these slides, and I'm going to come back to the chats, and I'm going to let y'all go. All right, come on with it. Let me go and share my screen, where I'm going to show you where you can get this information. Here's the case number and everything. All right, come on, Scream Yard. There we go. Collin County, Texas, tx.gov. Information for the trial, State of Texas versus Karmelo Anthony. Cause number should have been case number 296-835-565-2025. And here go updates. It was updated. Y'all, look at this. It was updated May 31st, 2026. But like I said, y'all may have already had this, but I didn't. And y'all, look, it's coming from the actual courthouse. It has the exhibits, it has information, and it has photos, audios, video group 1, 2, 3, 4. So go ahead and download. Y'all already know. Listen, after this live, go ahead and download, because you know how they are. They may take it down. They may remove the attachments. Okay. So let's keep going. So if you say, well, Tony Talks vested up, where these pictures coming from? This is exactly where the pictures came from, off of their own website. Okay, here we go. Now, let me go back to my slides. Now, this is what I want to show you. Now, I want you to pay attention, because I didn't know this. Directly behind where the incident occurred, I said, well, why they don't got no video cameras footage from that side? So I'm starting looking in the background, and you mean to tell me that pole there that's facing the actual baseball field, they don't have a camera angle pointing directly at the visitor stand towards the home side of the field? You can't tell me they don't. Collin County, FISD, where's that footage at? Because I know you got cameras that points down on the visitor stand. You got to, right? Because you're protecting students, right? This is part of the school campus, right? Y'all, there's no way in 2026 that school only had one camera for that whole entire football field. There is footage missing. So I'm pretty sure that when this case is appealed and go to retrial, there is going to be actual more video footage that come out from this particular angle, right? So let's keep going. Let's keep going here. Now, I want to bring this up right here, because I'm finna hit you with something. Now, the next photos is not going to be graphic, but I need to tell you exactly what it is. And if you go to that website under pictures, they actually got the womb that was delivered to Austin Metcalf. Okay. Now, I want to show you this. So they want us to believe, right? And in that testimony, so I should have said allegedly, if Karmelo Anthony was the one that gave him the blow, I think he would have had more than that particular drop of blood on his finger. Okay, so let's keep going. So Austin Metcalf have 100 pounds on Karmelo Anthony. That means that he has a lot more blood. Well, they said that all humans got 8 pounds of blood, but you know where I'm going. That means that it should have been more fluids on Karmelo Anthony, his front, his back, his side. But we did see Eddie take off his tracksuit on the ground, and he bundled them up. I'm pretty sure it was blood on a lot of people, but why it wasn't blood on the quote unquote the attacker? But let's keep going. Let me continue to paint this picture. Let me continue to paint this picture right here. Now, this is the hoodie that we all know that Karmelo Anthony was arrested in. Essentials, fear of God. Now, I want to show you this. Listen, I want to show you this, right? Because what you just heard, and I love you so much, Miss LowDownn, and trust me, I follow your content. I know that you don't come up with no clickbait or nothing. So that's why I'm going to say allegedly to that audio clip that I played from her channel. Because, as she said, and I want you guys to support that video, that Karmelo Anthony is reporting to his lawyers that Austin had him in the headlock. Well, this is where forensics come in. So that's why I'm going to say alleged, because we didn't hear nothing come from Karmelo. His lawyer didn't even allow him to testify, and we didn't hear this officially, right? But I have an issue with that, right? If Karmelo Anthony was in the headlock, and I'm going to show you this, but essential sphere of God, I just want to take note. Do you see any blood spatter on the shoulders, on the hoodie, anywhere on that hoodie? Especially, I want you to focus here on both of the shoulders, because if that is true, you got to consider both shoulders, because we don't know what side that Austin would have grabbed him, right? Watch this. Now, this is the knife. Now, I had an issue with this tool, and I'm sorry, the knife. But looking at the actual wound, which I'm not going to show that. But looking at, and it was only one single blow that was only 2 inches. It does look like this was the instrument or the knife that somebody plugged into Austin. Based off that wound, I actually can see the shape. I saw the wound myself. They got it in exhibit. I forgot what exhibit it was. Hold on. I can go in and tell you right now because it's in my phone, but I'm not going to show it. I'm definitely not going to show that over here. But that looks like, to me, the naked eye. I didn't get the exhibit, but it's definitely in there. It actually looks like the weapon that was used against Austin, right? But this is my point. So we already looked at this. Now, this is where forensics come into play. And I don't know who was the medical examiner or the forensics person, but they didn't do their job, because I'm going to punch holes in their case. As I stated, you don't see no blood on the back of this. So even if Austin had Karmelo Anthony in the headlock, blood would have spattered in the shoulders and the back and the top of the hoodie. Where is the blood? Where is the blood? He had one nick on his finger, and that could have been because of the fall, but who knows? We shall see. Now let me keep moving forward, then I'm gonna let you go. So these are just pictures of the knife, and I looked at all the pictures. They do not show the other side of the knife. They keep showing the same side of the knife in all the exhibits. Now, if you go and look at all of those pictures, let me know if I missed it, but they keep showing that one side of the knife. And a lot of people speculated and has said the other side of the knife has an M in it. I could not confirm that because they don't have no pictures of the other side of the knife, which is why I think they did not bring it into court for the jurors to see that. But let's keep going. Now, this is what forensics should have did. Since some people can't get it in their mind about the classes of body weight, okay? Here we go. Hold on, I missed one. Now, this is partially graphic, but it's just showing the clothes that Austin was in, okay? But if Austin clothes had this much fluids on it, why Karmelo Anthony clothes has none of it? Hold on. Okay, here it is. Now, this is actually part of the files that I just took you to. Now, you see that Austin has a cut right here. I'm going to say next to the left nipple, right? On the side of his chest, right? This is the actual drawing. You see a Collin County medical examiner, right? And you see the case number, right? And it was only one wound, right? Now, you see all this blood here? Now the whole entire, I didn't get the other one because it was a lot more fluids on those clothing items, and I didn't want to show that here. But if Austin, once again, if Austin, based on them clothes, the blood was coming out, why was Karmelo Anthony clothes so clean? Now, also, this is what I want to show. Let me blow this up real quick, if I can. Here we go. I hope y'all can see that. I want y'all to see this tag. Do y'all see this tag? Whoo! If Karmelo Anthony was 130, look at the size of clothes that Austin Metcalf was wearing. A 3X. That was a big boy. And they asking why he just didn't walk away when he's surrounded by football players, even though he was a football player himself. Do y'all see how big Austin Metcalf was? He was wearing a 3X, pushing up on a young man that was only 130 pounds. And they said that Karmelo Anthony, he should have, what they said, what they call it, the proportionality rule. So you think that somebody pushing you with 220 pounds is going to be have the same force as somebody from 130 pounds pushing against a body like that? Karmelo Anthony, one thing that I do agree with Miss LowDownn, he was fighting for his life. Even if they had him in the headlock. Now, this is my theory, and I'm going to go into my theory. I don't think he stabbed him. I'm sorry. Because one thing I also agree with that audio clip, it was at a strange angle. It was at a strange angle. When Tony Talks busted up, what you talking about? This is what I'm about to tell you. If Austin had Karmelo Anthony in a headlock from the left or the right, so let's just say he grabbed him from the left, and let's just say Karmelo Anthony was left, how could he go up with a knife to hit him in the chest? Because if you had him in the headlock, he would be low to the ground. This is forensics. This is forensics, right? He would have had him low to the ground. That means if he had anything, he would have chopped that, his legs or his thighs or his groin area or his pelvic. So that means that Karmelo Anthony definitely couldn't hit him with the left hand if he attacked him from the left. Well, Tony Talks vested up. What if he attacked him from the left and Karmelo Anthony was right-handed? Well, if I'm down, I don't think my arm would be long enough to cross my face and go all the way up, and he was 6 feet. That doesn't work for me. Once again, I would definitely be taking that object and I'll be chopping away at the thighs or the legs if you got me in a headlock. What Tony Talks vested up with, what if Austin had him for the right and Karmelo Anthony is right-handed? Once again, if I'm bent over, how can I twist my arm to go upward at that angle? How? Well, Tony Talks vested up. What if Austin came from the right and Karmelo was left-handed? It ain't gonna happen, y'all. So this is my theory right here. This is my theory as a layman, because I took forensics and CSI in college. This is where I think somebody else did it. I'm so sorry. Now, if Austin was attacking Karmelo and they was beating him and we saw the multiple assailants jump on Karmelo Anthony, I think there was somebody in that scuffle. One of the Metcalf brothers, if it is their knife, they dropped it. And somebody saw an opportunity to pick it up. And while they was beating on Karmelo, come across Austin's shoulder and deliver that hit. Because I just showed you, if Karmelo was in a headlock, from the left or the right, he couldn't get his arms at that strange angle. That's why I think when Austin had Karmelo down and they was beating him, somebody took the prime opportunity to come across his shoulder and look at the angle of that chest. Karmelo Anthony, once again, if Karmelo Anthony would have hit him in the chest like that, his whole entire hoodie definitely would have had splats, the head, especially if the head was down in the headlock, where Tony Talks vested up. Well, what if Karmelo Anthony was standing up, right? And Austin grabbed him by his head. Once again, the arms can only have a certain range of movement. I still wouldn't be able to do this. If I was swinging like this and I'm in a headlock, that means that the knife would have went past his ear. He would have been cut right here. Or the same thing, I wouldn't even be able to, if anything, if it was this arm and he had me from this side, that means that the tool, it would have been hitting him up here, but not here. And y'all, it just don't make sense. It don't make sense. And he had no blood. So even if he was going like this, the blood would have been on this side of the shirt. He had no blood on his shirt. And these are their pictures. And even with the knowledge that I took in college, I just punch holes in their whole defense. Karmelo Anthony. Look at the angle. Look at the angle. If it's true that they had Karmelo Anthony in a headlock, it doesn't fit forensics. It doesn't fit the science. It don't fit the science. And if he was going straight, well, Tony Talks vested up, what if that person is lying, right? And what, let's say if it was back to back, they said Karmelo Anthony never got up out of the seat except for when he crab walked out of the, ran out the back of the tent. He never got up. He never got up. He never got up. Well, Tony Talks vested up. Well, what if everything is wrong? What if Karmelo Anthony at 1:30 went directly towards Austin Metcalf and hit him in the chest? Well, you wouldn't come at that angle. Why would you go like this if you're right-handed? Wouldn't you go like this? Wouldn't you go like this? Oh, here we go. Hold on, let me go ahead and move this up 1 second. Hold on. All right. So did y'all see my demonstration? If y'all didn't see my demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to demonstrate it one more time. If Austin would have grabbed Karmelo from either side in a headlock, there's no way that Karmelo Anthony would have delivered the knife in his chest at that angle with the left hand or the right hand. It's impossible. Left or the right side. And if so, it would have been blood on the shoulders. Now, if Karmelo Anthony was bent over in the headlock, that means Karmelo Anthony with the weapon, he would have been hitting him in the groin or the thighs or the legs. He wouldn't have had the arm movement and a height to hit him. Austin was 6 feet in the chest. If anything, he would have stuck him in the stomach or lower. Right? He's only 5'8". He's only 5'8". Now, if my last thing was, if Karmelo Anthony went towards him directly, why would he hit him at an angle? If he's left-handed or right-handed, won't you go like this? Y'all, it's not adding up. And once again, where is the blood that would have been on his gray hoodie? It's not that the hoodie was black. The hoodie is light gray. Where is the blood in this case? Where is the blood in this case? Now, and I'm almost done. I got one more slide. Now, for all of the people that said that Karmelo Anthony could have pushed Austin back. Once again, Karmelo Anthony was 130 pounds. The weight that he could have pushed Austin back by sitting down was unmatched for Austin, who was 6 feet and 220 pounds. Well, this is why you have weight classes. If the legal defense, if they would have at least took in consideration and give the jury the same evidence that I'm about to show you as an example, it should have been not guilty. This case shouldn't even went to trial. Now, Karmelo Anthony was considered a super featherweight. A super featherweight. We're talking about Floyd Mayweather Jr., Manny Pacquiao, and look at Floyd Money Mayweather. Early career, and Manny Pacquiao. They are very small and slim. Now, let's see where Austin falls at and his brother falls at. Lightweight is 135 pounds. That's Benny Leonard and Pernell Whitaker. Super lightweight, 140 pounds. That is Aaron Pryor, Josh Taylor. A weatherweight, that is, weatherweight is 147. That's Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Floyd Money Mayweather. Now, super weatherweight, 154 pounds. So you see where I'm going? That's your Oscar De La Hoya. Your middleweight, right? That is 160. Bernard Hopkins. Let's go to the next slide. Since some people can't get it in their mind regarding these weight differences. Weatherweight, 147. We already did that. Here we go. Middleweight, Bernard Hopkins. Super middleweight, 68 pounds. You see the names. Andre Ward. Light heavyweight, 170 pounds. Austin Metcalf, we haven't even reached his category. Light heavyweight, 175 pounds. Archie Moore, Roy Jones Jr. Cruiserweight, 200 pounds. That means Austin Metcalf didn't even fall into this category. That's Evander Holyfield. Austin Metcalf was bigger and heavier than Evander Holyfield. And they want us to believe that Karmelo Anthony, sitting at 130, early career, Floyd Money Mayweather weight, was able to push off Evander Holyfield. Now, this is where Austin Metcalf, this is where he will fall. Heavyweight, over 200 pounds. That is your Muhammad Ali, your Mike Tyson, and your Lennox Lewis. And you mean to tell me that the public perception is, and anybody is saying that Karmelo Anthony should have defended himself or pushed back off of Austin Metcalf? Do you think Floyd Money Mayweather would have the strength to fight off a Muhammad Ali? That's illegal in boxing. Do you think a Floyd Money Mayweather would be able to fight off a Mike Tyson? Do you think a Floyd Money Mayweather in his early career or even the weight class he's now in is able to fight off a Lennox Lewis? It is illegal. So for all of these people that saying that that Karmelo Anthony should have just pushed him back where? Austin had an additional 100 plus pounds on him. And we already know his brother confronted him and the two other friends had him surrounded. So we could be talking about 220, that's 440. And let's say that it was the weight of Karmelo Anthony. 130 and 130, that's 260. 260 plus 440, yo, that's damn near 700 pounds they wanted Karmelo Anthony to get away from. 700 pounds against one small, and even the students call him skinny. That was what in the arrest records, all of the witnesses say how they described him: black male, puffy hair, skinny. And you think that he could defend himself against 700 pounds of weight? Now, if it is illegal for somebody, a heavyweight, such as a Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, to even fight somebody, Evander Holyfield, Roy Jones Jr., who has Oscar De La Hoya, Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Robinson, Floyd Money Mayweather. Hold on. And if in the boxing world it's saying it's illegal to fight somebody Oh gosh. Do y'all see the names? Do y'all see where I'm going? So if it's illegal in the boxing world, you got grown people believing that Karmelo Anthony should have just pushed back on Austin, Hunter, and the 2 other people that surrounded him, y'all, and arrest my case. No blood, no forensics. They even could have took my slides and showed the defense. But I do agree. That is the wound. This is the knife that delivered the fatal blow. Based off, like I said, you can go to the website and actually look at the picture itself. I'm not going to show that here. And look at the blood, and look at the blood from the whole entire track uniform. But even by this picture alone, you can see how much blood was in Austin's clothes. This was on the inside. This was on the inside. And you mean to tell me Karmelo Anthony, he was the one that did the poking, but his whole entire clothes is blood free? Because he didn't change it, but we definitely saw Eddie change it. We saw Eddie change clothes, and Hunter even said he went home to change clothes. Now, Hunter, what you going home to change clothes for? Because they did not pronounce Hunter as deceased at the stadium. I showed you in the arrest record, they didn't declare Hunter had passed away into the hospital at 10:56. So that means that his brother was still, remember they said they was working on him. They was working on him, and they did not leave the stadium until he was resuscitated, or whatever the medical term is. So that means Hunter and his father, Jeff, the one that's going on all of these interviews and crying, why y'all did not immediately go to the hospital? But you went home to go change clothes. Let me tell you one thing. If it was somebody I love, or even a friend, and I'm going to say even a stranger that I had empathy for, I would have got in that ambulance, or I would have followed them to the hospital just to make sure they was okay. Blood stained and all. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that Hunter was blood stained. I'm just saying, he said he had to go home and change his clothes. So if he didn't have his brother's DNA on his clothes, you mean to tell me he had to go change clothes because his clothes got wet because of the rain? Did you really have to go home and change clothes because you got wet in the rain? Oh, it's for another issue. But hey, it is what it is. I'm going to go to the comments, but I got to beg the question. This is not the whole entire clothing that Austin had on, and you see the amount of blood that was on the inside, right? Because you see the tag, he was 3X. So where is the blood on Karmelo Anthony clothing? Now, Karmelo Anthony is fast. I'm going to give him that. But he could not outrun that blood spatter. He could not outrun blood splatter. On the wrists, on the shoulders, even if he was getting away, bear crawling back or crab crawling out, blood would have came down on the front of his clothes. Where is the blood? And you mean to tell me that Mike Howard, and I'm just a layman, right? But I did take forensics and CSI in college, right? But you mean to tell me Mike Howard, and he didn't call in any experts. So Mike Howard, why you didn't call any forensics experts? I don't have a certification. I don't have a degree in this. But when you put the pieces together, and thank you, Collin County, for putting out these pictures, because I was able to just go ahead and punch holes into your case with just the pictures that you provide the public. Y'all, they put the information out there, but they said black people can't read. They said black people wouldn't even go out here because, hey, I don't know how they feel about black people there, but all of these pictures are out here, y'all. Once again, let me go in and share the website because I still got it up. And the pictures of the actual womb is there. And when I looked in the womb, I still can see the tissue. I don't see bone. I don't see, oh my gosh, I can't look. It's not even that gross. It's not even that gross. So once again, what did he pass away from? I'm going to share my screen again. Hold on. What did he pass away with? Here's the website. And I'm about to end this live in 10 minutes. Only been in, 1 hour and 39 minutes. I'm going to go through the comments for the last 10 minutes, next 10 minutes. Here's the website. All right, you could just Google this. State of Texas, Karmelo Anthony. Here's the case number. Collin County. Y'all definitely did a rush job. It's not a cause number. It's a case number. Come on, Collin County. Information for the trial, state of Texas. You see it here. But look when it was updated. May 31st, 2026. And here are the photos. It's a zip file, the audio, zip files. And you got group, video group 1, 2, 3, 4. Go ahead and start downloading this. Go ahead and start downloading these files, because who knows, by the end of the day, it could have been taken down, or you may get a website not found, because they'll put the information out here. Before the trial was what? Well, I know the verdict was June the 9th, but y'all, go ahead and download this stuff. Go ahead and download this stuff. And like I said, hold on, let me go in. Matter of fact, I'll go in and put it in the chat. There we go. Here's the link. I just dropped the link in there. Go ahead, y'all. And once again, based off this right here, if this was the blood inside of Austin Metcalf clothes on the inside, because you see the label, where is the blood on the outside of Karmelo Anthony gray hoodie sweatshirt? Because it's light gray. He didn't have nothing on his pants, because you know why? Because it would have been an exhibit. Once you go into the photos, they're going to have about 58 photos. Not one time besides that gray shirt, not one time did I see, on the front of Karmelo's shirt right here, it's like a small smidget of like red stuff. I'm sorry that. But you don't see no blood spatters, no pores, no nothing. You see like a little smear, which I think he could have got that cut when he fell down the stairs and, probably did that, but it's nothing regarding even the blood patterns. Y'all remember blood patterns, all of those shapes in this picture that you see, those are blood splatters. You don't see no splatter on Karmelo's front, back, hoodie, sleeves, nothing. But do you see what's on the inside of Austin clothes? Hold on, I think I got another slide here. 1 second. I think I missed one thing. Since they want to say that yes, here we go. Now, regarding the heat of passion and this first degree murder charge that they gave him, right? And remember at the beginning of the live when I kept harping on intentional murder, that's what AI is calling him, intentional murder, right? Well, what murderer do we know that has premeditated a murder, that has scrambled sheets in his book bag? I don't know what that is, but that has Cheez-Its in a book bag, that have fruits and cups in a book bags, that have a comb with DNA on it, that has pens with fingerprints, that has keys with fingerprints. Let's keep going. And you'll see this is state's exhibit 69. I'm not 63. Let's go here. Once again, what premeditated murderer that with the intentions of killing would go to a track meet with a receipt from the grocery store with his credit card on it, right? For all of them fools. And I'm talking to the black folks. I'm talking to the black content creators that on TikTok and YouTube, who would go to a track meet with the intentions of murder when you got a receipt with your credit card number on there, or with your fingerprints, pins with your fingerprints, you got a chain with your DNA and your sweat in it, and who would go to a track meet to murder somebody with snacks and other clothing that got your hair fibers on there, your sweat fibers on there, your blood, could be blood, all your skin fibers? What are we talking about? Who would go to a track meet with these items in their book bag? Hunter, I know exactly what interview you're talking about. He tried to kill Anthony. I do believe that. I do believe that. And probably that's why Hunter, and I think that's what the other vessel was talking about, that's why he was crying hysterically. And that's why he had to go home and change his clothes. Because he couldn't go to the police and say, yeah, I fatally stabbed my brother, but he wasn't the intended target, officer. I promise you he wasn't the intended target. I was trying to actually stab Karmelo Anthony. Y'all, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Is that what happened? Is that what happened? He went, so Hunter had the knife because they were standing beside each other according to the original 50. Austin and Hunter was standing in front of Karmelo, a friend and a friend on this side. They started pushing and hitting him. Boom, 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 boom. And then if I'm Hunter, I'm going to take out of the weapon to strike Karmelo, but he moves too fast and probably get pushed because it was all the pushing, and I accidentally, boom, hit Austin in the chest. Hold on. If I'm swinging to hit Karmelo and I'm pushed, oh my gosh, y'all, hold on. Austin, Hunter could have got pushed accidentally towards his brother and struck him in the chest at that angle right there. Okay, y'all. I'll talk to you later. That's why he had to go home and change his clothes. Because when the blood came out, the splatter came out, it got on his clothes because he was dripping and everything. Oh my gosh. Here we go. Free Karmelo, free Karmelo. Y'all, thank you so much for the love and attention. Thank y'all so much. We gotta go. We gotta go. Thank y'all. I gotta go. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, Vestas. Whoo! All right, Vestas. I think that's all my slides. I'll talk to you later. Okay.